Good evening, everyone. My name is Tanya Cantlow, and I am the counsel to Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams. I'd like to welcome you to tonight's ULURP hearing for February 15, 2021. I'm joined tonight by Richard Barrick, who is the Land Use Director, as well as Ina Gusenfeld, who is our Land Use Coordinator, and also joined by David Perez, who is the Director of IT. Tonight's public hearing is being conducted via WebEx video conferencing platform. There is one item on the agenda this evening. Please note that this virtual hearing is being recorded to comply with the public law for transparency. It will be available for viewing on Borough President Adams' One Brooklyn channel on YouTube. Viewers may join the hearing via the link and password on the following slide and request to testify via the WebEx chat function. Viewers may also submit comments to Ask Eric at brooklynbp.nyc.gov for Borough President Adams's consideration. Please call the item and let us begin.
Calendar item number 1, 210173 HAK.
This application submitted by the Department of Housing, Preservation, and Development pursuant to Article 16 of the General Municipal Law of New York State to designate 4 scattered sites, 187 and 187R Chauncey Street, 772 Myrtle Avenue, 890 Myrtle Avenue, and 119-125 Vernon Avenue as an urban development action area and an urban development action area project, and the disposition of these properties to a developer selected by HPD. These actions are requested to facilitate 4 new buildings with a total of 45 affordable home ownership units and approximately 3,250 square feet of ground floor commercial space, in Brooklyn Community District 3. Community Board 3 voted to approve this application with conditions. We remind viewers that if you wish to testify, you can use the WebEx chat function after the presentation and question and answer portion. We will call speakers in order of chat requests. Would Felipe Cortez, the representative for this application, please state your name for the record and present the application.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Felipe Cortez. I am from the New York City Department of Housing, Preservation, and Development. With me tonight is Lin Sang, Director of HPD's Brooklyn Planning, and members of the development team who will introduce themselves during the presentation. Oh, I'm sorry, is it possible to have the presentation? There you go. Thank you. We're excited to be here tonight presenting Bed-Stuy Central and North Phase 2. Approval of Phase 2 will result in the construction of 4 new buildings with approximately 45 affordable homeownership co-op units on 8 long-standing vacant underutilized city-owned lots in the Bed-Stuy neighborhood in Brooklyn. Yeah, I can stay in that one. A little bit of background. The applicant of this ULURP application is the NYC Department of Housing, Preservation, and Development. The sponsor, the designated sponsor, is Shelter Rock Builders. The team was designated on July 2017 under HPD's NIHAB NCP RFP, though the project is going to be finally developed under HPD's Open Door program. This ULURP was certified on January 4th, 2021. As stated before, CV3, we presented to Community Board 3, to the Land Use Committee and the full board on January 13 and February 1st, respectively. The proposed project, again, will consist of 4 affordable homeownership co-op buildings with approximately 45 units to be developed under HPD's Open Door program. The land use actions that this ULURP application is seeking are designation of an urban development action area, urban development action area project approval, and the disposition of city-owned property located on block 1687, lots 76 and 176, block 1754, lot 16, and block 1755, lots 40, 54, 55, 56, and 57. Can we go to the next one? Oops, sorry. Now I'm gonna provide a little bit of details on the location of the sites. All development sites are located within Community District 3 in Brooklyn's Bed-Stuy neighborhood. Development Site 1 is located in the southern portion of Bed-Stuy. Development Sites 2, 3, and 4 are all located in the northern portion of Bed-Stuy and are located 1 block away from each other. Sites 2, 3, and 4 are approximately 1.5 miles away from Site 1. All these sites, as they were part of the NYHAP-NCP RFP, are small and modest size sites. The smallest site is about 2,500 square feet, and the largest site, which is the Vernon site and combines 4 lots, it's about 800 square feet combined again. The predominant surrounding uses are residential, with commercial and retail spaces and retail located on Malcolm X Boulevard and Fulton Street in the case of Site 1, and on Myrtle Avenue and Nostrand Avenue in the case of Sites 2, 3, and 4. All sites have a strong transit access. Site 1 has access to the ANC Utica station and is also served by the local B46 and B25 bus lines. And sites 2, 3, and 4 are in close vicinity to the G subway station on Myrtle Willoughby and are all well served also by the local B44 and B54 buses. I will now hand the presentation to Olga Jobe, a member of the development team, who is also representing the designated developer. She will give us a detailed overview of the proposed project.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present this evening. As Felipe mentioned, I'll be giving you an overview of each of the sites. Site 1 is 187 and 187R Chauncey Street. It's a 4-story walk-up designed to be contextual with the neighborhood, as you can see from the cornice finishes as well as the windows. The building consists of 7 units, which is a mix of 1 and 2 bedrooms, predominantly 1 bedroom, 6 1-bedrooms and 1 2. If you could go to the next slide, please. As you can see from this side, and also from the rendering, we've set back the building to provide additional privacy for that ground floor unit, which is the 2-bedroom. And in addition to having that setback, which provides some outdoor space, there's an ample rear yard. So in terms of building amenities, there's the landscape rear yard, and unit amenities, or I should say overall building amenities, there'll be laundry facility, as well as dishwashers in each unit. Next slide, please. So 772 Myrtle and 890 Myrtle are sister buildings on Myrtle Avenue. They're each 10 units, which is a mix of 1-bedrooms and 2-bedrooms, predominantly 1s with 9 1s and 1 2. There's a shared laundry facility on the ground floor and a rooftop terrace for tenants. We expect to have a retail tenant in this building and in the next building, and that the retail be an accessory use that complements both the residents of the building as well as the residents in the greater neighborhood. If you could go to the next slide, please. This is just an overview of the site plan to give you an idea of the depth of the community facility space or retail space. Next slide, please. And this is the sister building across the street. So again, it's a 10-unit building, 6 stories, comprised of 9 1-bedroom units and 1 2-bedroom units. with shared laundry and a rooftop that will be accessible to all of the residents. Next slide, please. This is 119 to 125 Vernon. This is the largest building in this cluster. It consists of 18 units, 4 of which are 1 bedrooms, 14 are 2 bedrooms. There's shared laundry in the cellar, and this site also has recreation and bike storage. And in addition to what you see there, which is it being set back to provide for some greenery in the front of the building, if you can go to the next slide. This site also has an ample outdoor space, which the open recreation area here is larger than in the other buildings, but it provides separate areas for the unit owners to enjoy, both seated areas, areas where they can eat, where their children can play. So this is a fantastic amenity for the unit owners of this building. And this is the ground floor, which gives you an idea of the size of the units. Again, this one has 14 2-bedrooms and 4 1-bedrooms. So the current proposed income mix is 2 tranches, 90 to 110% of AMI, and 111 to 130% of AMI. These numbers are based on the 2020 AMI, which for a family of 4 is $113,700. The variation in the range is based on the household size. So for example, in the 1-bedroom, that could be purchased from a family of 1 to 2 persons. And for the 2-bedroom, that could be purchased by a family of 2 to 5 persons. Next slide, please. I'm not sure, Felipe, if you'd like me to discuss this slide or.
Yeah, if you can, that would
Sure.
be great.
Sure. So the developer will participate in HPD's MWB Build-Up program and will reach out to both the Borough President's office as well as the community board and other LPs and community stakeholders in order to ensure that local contractors and vendors will be included when they bid out their contracts and look for vendors, subcontractors and laborers to work on the site. The jobs during construction will also be posted on the Hire NYC portal. Next slide, please. So in summary, this project will be developed. It's 100% affordable home ownership, 100% cooperative apartments, developed and financed under HPD's Open Door program. It's comprised of 18 long vacant city-owned lots that will be redeveloped into 4 sites. 4 buildings, I should say, providing 45 new affordable homeownership cooperative units. The targeted AMI mix as of today is 90 to 130% of AMI, and the unit mix is comprised with a mix of 1 and 2-bedroom units. All of the buildings will have bike storage. 3 out of 4 of the buildings will have an elevator. The only building that doesn't have an elevator is 187 Chauncey. There will be washer dryers available either in unit or in a shared laundry facility, and all of the buildings will have recreational outdoor space. The project will be compliant with HPD design guidelines as well as enterprise green community standards. And for reference, we received UDAP approval for the phase 1 sites, which consists of 11 2 to 3 family homes in October of 2020. Next slide, please. Now here's our anticipated timeline. Obviously, we've met with the community board. We would like to obviously receive the Borough President's approval of the project and proceed through ULURP, with potentially completing ULURP by the end of the summer. And then from there, we would continue pre-development and applying for financing sources to close sometime between September of 2021 and June of 2022. Next slide, please. So we will now open it up for questions.
Thank you, Felipe and Olga, for your presentation. So my first question, how long are these units required to be maintained as income restricted housing? And how will that be enforced?
So they will have we will apply for an Article 11 from the City Council. And that is a 40-year term. We'll ask for the max, which is 40 years. So for the term of the real estate tax abatement, the units will need to remain affordable. And the units will have a co-op monitor that will work with the co-op board to ensure compliance with any resales that might occur over that 40-year period. Now, this is a co-op, which means it's an HDFC. So ostensibly, it can remain affordable for so long as they have that 40-year tax abatement. So we would anticipate that sometime between year 35 and year 40, the unit owners would reapply to City Council with the help of a co-op monitor to receive an extension on that tax abatement and extend the affordability for another 40 years.
Thank you. I was just taking some notes. Thank you. And so my next question deals with your marketing strategies for the selection process in order to have the highest level of participation from Community District 3. So what marketing strategies would you be using?
So I'm going to turn that over to James Ship, who I believe is also on this. Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm
James.
James Ship, and I work with Restored Homes, HDFC, and we're working on this project as a consultant to handle the marketing of this project. We've done this for previous projects through the Open Door program, and we have very specific guidelines that we follow in conjunction with the HPD marketing department to make sure that we have sufficient outreach to folks in CB3 and throughout the city. So historically, what we've done is that we've had in-person seminars in the community board to educate potential home buyers of the project. We've also placed written ads and advertisements in appropriate publications. And then we have an open marketing period where people can send in their applications. And then we go through a lottery process where those applications are collected. They're registered, they're randomized so that it's a true lottery situation. And then depending on the preferences that we have, different weights are assigned to different categories of potential home buyers. Historically, a preference has been given to folks in the local community board, and that would be CB3. And as far as I know, that will be the case going forward, but that will be confirmed when we begin the marketing process, which usually happens when the buildings are about 50% completed. And so we anticipate, given the construction and closing schedule, that that'll be sometime late this year, early next year, where we will sit down with HPD, confirm exactly what the marketing guidelines are and follow those to a T. But what I was referring to was what we've done historically, a local outreach, written outreach with advertisements, and then different community board preferences. We also have historically given preferences to municipal employees, and in some years, not all, to veterans as well.
Okay. So I know you talked about in-person seminars. Any plans for financial literacy campaigns to assist the residents to become lottery eligible?
We haven't done that in the past. What we've done is for home buyers who are interested, we've asked them to take a home buyer education course, and that's required in order to qualify to close on these properties. That's something that we've historically done, and we're assuming we're doing that going forward. We have done outreach and been in contact with local community groups that have been doing financial literacy work and first-time homebuyer work. And so we do make a point of reaching out to them when it's appropriate to let them know about this opportunity. But right now, we don't have any plans to provide financial literacy workshops to potential homebuyers. It's home ownership training and letting folks moving from being a renter to an owner, and that is required and that has been required in order to close on these projects.
And that will be the case for this project too. It's per term sheet, per HPD, they're required to comply with that course.
Richard, did you have anything? I thought you were about to speak to add to.
Can we put the slide back up there that had the AMIs and the bedrooms? So my question deals with, when the slide comes up, it'd be easier to respond, but it's a wide range of lumping together 90 and through 110 to say how many units are going to be at 90 and how many may be, I suppose, at 100% AMI, and the same thing with above 110% AMI, to help us understand roughly what are you ballparking in terms of how many at each AMI. And for example, if it's 90, how much above 90 could one still qualify? Like, is it from 90 to 99 and then 100 to 110? You know, how is that being set up? And again, having the proportions of how many are you expecting towards 90, you know, like what does 90 to 110 mean? It's just too broad.
Yes, the marketing band would be like 90 to 97, I believe. I believe it's a 7% marketing band. And so the 110 AMI would be 103 to 110. With regard to your question about how many at what level, you know, we're still working out the budget, both the hard costs and some of the underwriting assumptions regarding GM. I will say, I don't know if he's available to talk, but Ben Tavolian is committed to providing, you know, as affordable a price as possible to the community. So it's something that we're looking at. I'd like you to look at this as a projection. These are not set in stone. You know, we're looking at additional sources to help us bring some of these sales prices down at this point. But right now, this is what we're using in order to make the numbers work. And we're currently asking for the max in HPD subsidy. And with regard to these income bands, the max available in AHC subsidy.
But again, so that 90 to 110, does that mean of the 38 units, you have no idea roughly where you are now in terms of how many might be at 90 and how many might be a higher number above 90? And what is that higher number above 90?
So we have that information and we could share that with you. I'd have to read that out, or I could provide it later, which I think would probably be best, and just give you what that range would be.
And again, I understand it's not binding because, you know, we have time before you're closing, but to have a ballpark where you're at, and the same thing. So like if you have between 90 and something, and in between, is there another number up to 110, you know, knowing the ranges, because there may be some percentages that don't qualify at all. We want to clarify if there's every percentage between 90 and 110 and the same thing above 110. And is there one price point at 110, or is there a second price point somewhat higher than 110? That would help clarify things.
Yeah, so the price points will be slightly different based on household size, but we'll provide you that information. But again, just keep in mind that these things are still in flux. We're just trying to make
Right.
things balance for now.
And you can't have you can't charge for a one bedroom a different price if a lottery winner is a 2 or 3 person household. I mean, it's a price for a one bedroom and a price for a 2 bedroom. I don't believe you get to charge more because, oh, the person that selected in the lottery is a 3 person household instead of a 2 person.
So I'll let James speak to that, but I do believe there is an income range based on household size. Like I do think that that's different in terms of how they look at who qualifies.
Again, household apartment size, I understand is a difference, but I don't know how you penalize somebody for squeezing more people into the household.
No, they're not penalized for having more people in the household. No.
So you have to have one price for a 2 bedroom and one price for a 1 bedroom, regardless of the household assigned to the lottery.
Yes, that's
But-
right. The ranges that you see there are the ranges between 90 to 110. That's the variation between the
So I'm
70
assuming
and the 90.
that whatever that higher number in the 110 range, that 93,000 is for a 1 bedroom of something, whatever close to 110 is, because I see the 110 is almost the same as, you know, the
111.
94,983, right? But
That's
again, the sales price is not indexed to the 93,000. It's going to be a number below because you're going to have a range of people. So the sales price has to be geared at a lower AMI just because the qualifying income allows up to 93,980, right? You're going to have a sales price based on a lower income to have a range of people to compete for that unit. So I'd like to understand what the AMI would be. The 345 translates to an AMI that's not 93,930. You know, that would be impossible to have because it would disqualify everybody below 93,830 for that 345, you know, so it's what I'd like more clarity about.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to understand your question, Richard. I mean, the 93, it is the ceiling for the 110 AMI. But I mean, every unit, it's really based on the household size and the income. So there is a range. Like we're not, and James probably knows more about it, but we're not asking someone, you know, with exactly 93,830, you know, for let's say a couple or even a family of 3 to have that. But there is going to be a range where they qualify, which, you know, fits into the numbers, the figures that are on the table right now.
Yeah, the AMI is tied to household size. So for a 1 bedroom, you will have a different household size for a 1 person household.
I get all that, but it's still going to be one sales price, whether you're a household of 2, household of 3, household of 4.
I'm not sure
You're
if
not
it
going to
is.
change the sales price just because, oh, the lottery winner is a higher household size.
James, is it a range in that case, or?
No, I mean, what we've done is that you qualify for a home at a particular sales price. And so these would be I see what you're saying, Richard. You're asking, given the range of incomes that we have and the qualifying incomes, how does that correspond with the sales prices that we anticipate for the different 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom units? And if we have fixed sales prices, do we have a sense of what the fixed sales prices are going to be going forward? And then we can kind of back into the income range that would be eligible for each of those fixed sales prices, correct?
And also, is it possible that rather than have 38 units between 90 and 110, if we could get more units at 90 by throwing a few more units to people who are eligible up to 130, you know, 120, 130, you know, is that a way to get us more at 90? Because getting more units at 90 is going to help this community a lot more, even if it means, because remember, 50% local preference. So if we could get 50% of the units at 90 and people outside the community win the lottery for the 120 AMI unit, that may be okay in the scheme of life to get more units at 90.
Well, the thing is, the sales price would be lower, which means we're getting less cash in to pay down the construction loan. which means that there's a gap. So I see.
No,
Yeah,
you're shifting more units up to a higher AMI to compensate for bringing it down. You want to be cash flow neutral.
So it's
Very
almost
good
like
idea.
dumbbell. You're moving more down to 90, more up to 130, trying to keep the balance is what you're proposing.
So the thing is, so we end up losing some AHC, maybe not that much, but the closer you get to 130, then, so actually I think 130 is the cap for open door. So they're really, it's a delicate balance, and I think that given some of the budgetary constraints that we're facing, we're really just trying to look at how to do a lot of things at the same time, which is trying to get some units at a lower AMI level. We definitely hear you, and we want to do the same thing, and also making the project financially feasible. So there's a limit to how high we can go without running into another AMI ceiling, even on the HPD side.
Correct, but if you take a 110 unit and you sell it at 120, and you take a 100 unit and you offset it by setting it to a 90% AMI, you're revenue neutral. You're collecting the same sales prices.
Correct. Richard, is it possible to allow Ryan Morris to speak? He's a member of our program team, and I think he could help us clarify this point, which I now understanding what you're talking about, and we've seen it in other projects. Is it possible to make him a participant of the conversation?
Again, anything you can do to update this in the next couple weeks would be helpful.
Okay, Ryan, can you hear us now? Can you talk?
Ryan, you're unmuted.
Let me see offline if he's having any issues. Give me 1 second. Okay, he says he's unmuted, but for some reason he can't be heard. Richard, I think I understand what you're trying to say. Is it okay if we can come back to you on this later, and we can send you an email or maybe a letter with some answers to these questions?
Yeah, that'd be perfect. I don't believe the community board has officially submitted their recommendation yet, so I don't believe their clock has ended. I know they voted, but so we do have 30 plus days on our clock based on that. So there's certainly a few weeks that you could take advantage of.
Yeah, I can be in contact with Ina and ask her like the specific question, the specific answer that you want us to address, and we'll take it from there. Good.
Thank you.
No problem.
So we have actually one last question. It is the Borough President's policy to promote the use of sustainable and renewable energy resources, as well as practicing to retain stormwater runoff. So what consideration has been given, possibly in cooperation with the Department of Environmental Protection, for example, the Mayor's Office of Sustainability, NYSERDA or NYPA, to incorporate passive house design, solar panels, blue, green, white roofs, or DEP?
So I think Ben Chavolian should be able to answer that question. Ben?
Hi, am I unmuted?
Yep.
Okay, good. So first, a response to Tonya about her financial literacy. We have been in touch with Richard Trout of BNS, and we are going to do financial literacy, just as a note. So now going to the last question. The roofs that we are proposing are white roof, albedo roof, which will encompass also solar radiation, and it will prevent from heat being converted to more heat and to urban heat. And this will, in effect, give us a cool roof, making a much more energy efficient building. The water conservation is actually one of our big focuses. Our modeling using the projected flow rates indicates that these buildings will use 39% less water compared to a baseline building built with today's code compliant fixtures. So it's a very efficient building. They all are, and it's going to have efficient fixtures, efficient appliances, and it's going to be 39% less water compared to your regular project. Also, the hot water will be 95% efficient, tankless water, and it's a very good item also.
So maybe I didn't hear you. What did you say would be used for the water conservation? What will be used?
So we do have water conservation through all our plumbings. We have water conservation through all the appliances. We have water conservation through all the water usages, whether it's a sink, whether it's a faucet, whether it's a shower, and through our modeling, it will be 39% less water usage than regular projects.
I would just add that when the home buyer closes on their particular property, as part of the walkthrough, they're educated and instructed on all of the enterprise green community conservation and energy efficiency efforts that went into the, and educated on any uses as owners and residents that would help to enhance conservation and energy efficiency.
Okay, thank you. So Richard, any comments or questions before we close?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, HPD team. That concludes our questions for this calendar item. Ina, is there anyone that would like to testify in the chat?
I'm sorry, no one has indicated intent to speak on this item.
Okay, hearing none. If you would close this calendar item.
Calendar item number 1 is closed.
This hearing on this item is now closed. Thank you for participating in the remote public hearing. Borough President Adams will review the application heard today and submit his recommendations to the City Planning Commission for further consideration. Borough President Adams would like to take this opportunity to remind you that the City Planning Commission will hold a public hearing on this item, which will be announced at a later date. Borough President Adams would also like to remind viewers that comments can be submitted by email to askeric@brooklynbp.nyc.gov. This hearing is now adjourned. Thank you,
So much,
Richard.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Have a
you,
good
Richard.
evening.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Good night.
Thank you, Dave. Good night.